I'm going to show you some of the technical and legal loopholes that password managers nowadays, even the no knowledge architecture password managers, use in an effort to give you a false sense of security, to make it seem as if they have no access to your information, but it's all stated in their policy agreement, and I'll even show you how they can get access to even more information than what is stated there online. Now, zero knowledge architecture or zero knowledge proofs become a little bit technical in nature. And so I'm going to leave that for another video, because here we're going to go over the additional data, the things that they just straight up tell you what's going on. But just a quick understanding with zero knowledge architecture, it's not some sort of evidence that you're the only person that knows what's in there. What it is it's like a technical proof that shows, because you're the only person who has access to it, because you're the only person that knows this password, and because you're the only person that can put this password in and it encrypts on your side, then there is a proof that we can't have access to it, that we don't know. But there are many ways to get around this, and I'll show you. So I'm actually going to start right here in the middle, the anonymized app usage statistics, where basically, even though they tell you only you know what's inside your vault, they know the exact amount of files, right? So however many of whatever information you have, they know the date it was created, they know how it was created, whether or not it was imported, autosave, created manually, and also the strength in percentage, which means that they have software that has to go through and not only tell how many passwords you have, but how long those passwords are, whether or not you use special characters in your passwords, or whether or not you use numbers in your password. And the only way to do that is to literally have access to the information directly, which means even though they prove that they can't get their hands on it, they have software that's doing it for them. And what that comes down to later is them being able to correlate this information externally, right, where they aren't legally linked to it. And I'll show you that with being able to have all these third-party cookies and how that can be used by different websites to correlate information more directly. So here they're showing you information collected on their websites, right? Not just the IP address, the browser type, like most places do, but they also collect cookies, pixels, and other similar technologies or small text. So cookies, right, may have everything from your password to the browser to how long you spent here and whether or not you have permissions that allow other cookies. But collecting pixels, I mean, they literally collect your screen. And what do they use it for? Well, they don't just use it to improve their performance, but they use it to make some money off of advertising. But if we come down here, they have grounds to process your personal information. Well, where necessary to fulfill their promise to you. If you give them your passwords and you want it to auto-insert all of your password information into the browser, well, then they have access to it. Now, they don't have access to the password inside the vault, but once it's outside the vault and unencrypted from your device, they have access to it because they need to have access to it. Why? Well, because we need to ensure the secure reliability of our product. We need to know that that was your password for Facebook and that that password worked, because that's how we make sure that we are doing our good job. So they tell you that they don't know your information that's inside of it, but if you want to use the information inside of it, then they have to be able to access and process that information. So here we get into a little bit more of the details here. I'm not going to cover everything because it gets a little deep. But when they process your information, right, they tell you straight up, we have access to your social networks data, your account data, your personal data. So even if they don't know what's inside your vault, they know everything that comes out of the vault, especially if it's related to your social media. So all the admin stuff, plus your personal stuff, they have it because, well, that's part of the agreement and the rights that you are supposed to read before you agree to use their product. So now this is where they make the claim that we don't share any of your personal information with third parties, well, except for the third parties we've listed here. And where it gets better is when they tell you that, guess what happens to your data once it makes its way to your third party? Well, that's not to them. That's their privacy policy now, and that doesn't really account for what we do with your data. So yes, your data is shared with third parties, and those third parties can do whatever they want to because now their procedures are established. So now you'd have to find all of their third parties, right? Go through all of the third party websites, the third party companies, and look up all of their privacy policies if you actually want to know that your data is being secured. Isn't it cool how they take care of their third parties similar to how they take care of themselves? It wasn't enough that they have legitimate reasons or illegitimate reasons to access your data, like we're accessing it just to make sure that we're doing a good job, but they also extend these privileges to their third parties. So to improve our services and provide new products and features, receive knowledge of our websites being used, all of this processed under their third party's legitimate interests. So that's pretty cool. Wasn't good enough that them and their third parties had access to your personal information. Now they're telling you it might not even be in the country in which you reside because they have people everywhere. And at the end of the day, this is where they drop the ball on your report, saying that they're not responsible for any of the websites, even the ones that they provide you links for, and that at any point in time that they can update their terms and conditions, their policies, and it's up to you to be responsible for keeping up to date on whatever changes may occur after you've already agreed to one situation. If you're a fan of being told the truth and what I've shared so far is helpful, please take the time to like, maybe share or subscribe if you haven't done so already. Now on to the rest. I wanted to make a quick demonstration video for a lot of people who choose the convenience of having your passwords saved and having easy access to web browsers. So if you look here, this isn't my main browser. This is my Microsoft Edge. But what happens is a lot of websites, they will actually have these requests for third-party cookies, where basically it'll pretend as if it's the same website, allowing it to send requests and save your information across multiple websites. What this does is allows them to basically correlate information for passwords. So like if you use a password for your Facebook and your Twitter or your bank login, you'll be able to compare those and show like, hey, this user uses the same password or they use that combination of password. So as you see here, this is one of those, this problem when you have your cookies and you have them saved. So, this also happens here, indicate whether or not to save it, send it across websites. You've got all this stuff where it grabs your ID and your login information. I'm not going to waste too much time getting into that, but I'll also show you the same thing with a Google web browser here. So this is my Google Chrome, just in case, you use it to save all of your passwords. You'll see here where it's got the same problem, right? It's got the request, it's sending the cookies across. Here's some of the information. You can just hit F12, you scroll down and you hit include third party issues, right? But if you see the one browser that I actually use for most of my secure data, you'll see here that when I click on it, there is none of that information. There's still going to be some warnings and errors, some other problems with these browsers. But as you go through them, you'll see here that there's nothing. The difference is with my settings over here, you see I not only block all third-party cookies, oh, I didn't mean to space, but I also clear all of the information. So this is why the password manager, the digital keyring specifically, is advantageous because I can let the browser maybe save all my usernames, but then when I want to log in, I can use the passwords that I have saved on on the digital keyring, keeping me safe from any possible malicious threats. And as you can see here, I don't have that same setting set up. This is just, it's not much of a real secure browser. And, this is even less secure over here, right? It allows sites to save and read cookie information. It's recommended because, it's convenient for them. And of course they want to have more information. Now, whether or not that reduces your security, that's your problem. But, I would definitely go to your settings, go to your cookies and site permission, and at the very least, block the third party cookies. I don't know why this isn't automatically done, especially with the problems that we have now, because you'll see that, it's just looking and just gathering that information from other websites and correlating it. So even blocking the third party cookies doesn't keep you safe from everything. But if you don't save any of your cookies, then there's no information for them. There's no reason for them to go and get anything. It's just weird that here in the settings, they literally recommend that you save them, right? So let's block that, turn that crap off, and refresh and see what happens. Nothing. Nothing. Oh, it's compatibility issues, some performance issues, but security header should not be used. So that's some other stuff, but it's not the same as sending your information cross site. Do it again here, and got some compatibility, but the only security set cookie, the header. So yeah, so that's problematic, but at least it's not sending your information across websites.